Image United is that awesome world from the pages of Image Comics universe where iconic characters like Spawn, Savage Dragon, and Invincible collide in a massive crossover event. This uber ambitious project was supposed to be one of the biggest in Image Comics history. I mean, it did promise a pretty cool storyline that was filled with all these intense battles and alliances and all that. But then again, despite the initial excitement and promising start, Image United could not really get completed and ended up becoming a missed opportunity. I mean, they released 3 out of 5 issues in addition to issue O. The series was initially scheduled for release in 2010, but struggled with completion. Nevertheless, in this video, we will explore all 4 of these issues of the comic, and in the end, you can tell us where you think the comic should have headed.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Issue O. Alright, so we've got Fortress, the superhero who's all decked out in a high-tech suit, taking it for a test flight around the city. But the guy's flight skills are a bit rough around the edges. He's all hyped at first, feeling himself, but then he totally wipes out. Wham! Right into a building. He's brushing off the dust, all cool about it, thinking he's untouchable in his suit, which took the hit like a champ. He's not even sore. Fortress is feeling pretty invincible, even his suit's glowing, which he hopes isn't radiation, cause that'd be a bummer. He's trapped in this suit, but he's starting to love it, even with the whole crash landing episode. Then he tries out his strength to see if he can lift the dumpster, and boom, he flips it without breaking a sweat. In fact, he sends it flying in the air like it was a tennis ball. Just as he's reveling in his newfound might, he gets a reality check from Savage Dragon, the big green guy who's a cop and all muscle. Dragon's like, dude, surrender now and we can avoid the drama. But Fortress, he's on a roll and accidentally sends Savage Dragon flying, which is a major oops moment. Fortress isn't looking for a fight, but his suit's got other ideas. And the 2 powerhouses go at it. Wham! Fortress is apologizing, but you know how it goes when the adrenaline's pumping. Meanwhile, we've got Doc Seismic causing chaos, feeling all-powerful, and doing his villainous rant about limitless power and all. He's having the time of his life until he gets decked out of nowhere. It's mayhem in the streets, and Dragon shouting for help to handle this guy on a rampage. So yeah, we've basically got ourselves a superhero brawl. Our main guy, Fortress, who is looking all sorts of powerful in his suit, is diving headfirst into a superhero fight. However, he's still getting the hang of his suit's powers, and well, it's a real trial by fire. Meanwhile, Savage Dragon is trying to handle Doc Seismic, this mad scientist whose only aim is to bring the city down. He takes a swing at Savage Dragon, who's not about to let that slide. Just when you think Savage Dragon was done for the day, Fortress steps in. He tries to do the right thing, you know, but ends up in a bit of a tussle himself. Doc Seismic goes all out, claiming he'll bring the city down, and our boy Fortress is like, not on my watch. But Fortress starts feeling a bit too good about throwing punches. He absorbs power or something from Doc Seismic, and it gives him a rush. As Fortress deals with this new power surge, he starts questioning his own actions. Like, is he really hurting the guy? Things get even more intense. Fortress and Savage Dragon deal blows to Doc Seismic, and it's looking grim for the bad Doc. Fortress is all, did I just kill this guy? That's some heavy stuff to deal with on your first day on the job. In the end, after a lot of smashing and bashing, Fortress is left wondering if he's gone too far. He's got no clue what he's actually capable of, and that's a scary place to be when you've got superpowers. Fortress, still fresh in the hero game, seems to have bitten off more than he can chew. After the brawl, he's freaking out because he thinks he might have offed Doc Seismic. But hold up, turns out Doc's just in a weird trance, not dead. Savage Dragon is like, good job, but hey, I still gotta bring you in. Fortress feels all kinds of wonky, like he's overloaded with Doc's powers or something. He's not feeling hot, and his energy levels are all over the place. Suddenly, Fortress starts to lose control, telling Dragon to stay back because he's about to blow. It's like all that power he absorbed is too much for his suit to handle, and he's about to go nuclear. Savage Dragon, being the chill cop he is, tries to keep things cool, but Fortress flies away, and he finds himself unable to control his flight. He aims for a tall roof to land on, hoping not to smash into the pavement. But as he zooms through the air, he realizes he's super weak, barely able to lift his arms. Somehow, he manages to reach the rooftop, but gets a vision. You see, Fortress has psychic abilities, and he can see visions that tell him about forthcoming troubles. In one such vision, he sees himself along with a few other heroes. The epic crossover event. In Image United issue number 1, we start with Fortress having this wild vision where all the Image Universe heroes are getting wrecked by some unbeatable evil. He snaps back to reality and finds himself chilling on a roof in Chicago, but he has no time to relax. He spots Overkill wreaking havoc down in the streets. Youngblood's squad rolls up to take on Overkill, and Dragon, seeing all the chaos, decides to jump back into the action, teaming up with Youngblood. Meanwhile, over at Cyberforce HQ, the crew's noticing these violent outbreaks popping up all over the states. They're trying to figure out where to hit first when Velocity bursts in and tells them about some major trouble brewing in downtown New York City, so they decide to head there. Back in Chicago, Dragon and Youngblood are throwing everything they've got at Overkill, but it's like hitting a brick wall of pillows. Fortress, done with just watching from the sidelines, decides to join the battle. Just then, Die Hard's current body gets totaled by Overkill. He quickly uploads himself into a new body, and as he's leaving Youngblood HQ, Troll gives him a heads up about a new recruit. Back in the thick of it, Fortress, Shaft, Badrock, and Dragon keep duking it out with Overkill, but it's clear they've got their work cut out for them. At Youngblood HQ, Eddie Collins, aka Shadowhawk, is with his dad, waiting to audition for the team. Suddenly, Troll dashes in and lets him know Shaft's out on the field, so he'll be the one doing Eddie's final evaluation. Eddie suits up, all set to show his stuff. Meanwhile, back in Chicago, Bedrock has finally got Overkill in the ropes and smashed his body, but Overkill is not done yet. He launches his head to make a getaway, only for Shaft to ground him before he can split. With the battle done, Fortress has this gut feeling that bigger trouble's brewing and they need more muscle. Die Hard comes back and takes Vogue to get patched up at a hospital. Dragon's about to bounce, but Fortress slams him into a wall, freaking out about some impending doom. Fused and ticked off, Dragon punches Fortress. Shaft steps in, deciding to take Fortress into Youngblood's custody. Back at the HQ, Shadowhawk has aced his evaluations, and Troll gives him the thumbs up. He's practically in. Then Cougar zooms past, updating Troll on Girth, Quantum, and Crypt, stirring up trouble in different spots. Youngblood's splitting into 3 teams to handle it. Troll tells Shadowhawk he's needed in the field, and Shadowhawk's game, no questions asked. Cut to New York City. Jim Downing's just hanging out when this mysterious voice tells him to get up, hinting he's part of some big plan. Jim, totally clueless, turns into Spawn, demanding answers. That's when Al Simmons shows up as Omega Spawn, talking big about wanting everything, and he's counting on Jim to help him snag it all. Back in Chicago, Draken gets home to see Malcolm glued to the TV and Angel trying to help out with the chaos. Dragon doesn't like any of this and forbids Angel from joining in before he gets a call from the police department. He's just baffled and mutters, "What in the world is going on?" Over at Youngblood HQ, Shaft's visiting Fortress in his cell, eager to get some info on what Fortress was freaking out about earlier. Fortress is all cryptic, saying he only knows bits, but he's sure things are about to get way worse. He's convinced that they gotta rally everyone to face this mega threat, or they're all toast. In New York, Jim Downing squares off with Al Simmons, aka Omega Spawn. Al's laying out his end of the world plans and wants Jim on board. Jim's like, no way, and naturally, the difference of opinion calls for a fight. But Spawn is way too strong and starts dominating the fight. He acts all smug, telling Jim he'll never get the full picture before trying to land a killer blow. In a last-ditch move, Jim teleports himself to a hospital. He's trying to warn them about what's coming, but he's too weak and ends up under the care of Ann Stevens. Funny enough, this is the same hospital where Die Hard brought Vogue after their scrap with Overkill. Vogue's out cold, and as Die Hard's about to confess his feelings, the hospital comes under attack. Die Hard jumps into action to whisk Vogue to safety, while Ann transforms into Mighty Man to help fend off the attackers. Shaft was still chatting with Fortress, who was laying it all out, but Shaft is skeptical about the whole thing. He leaves to join the battle while Fortress shouts after him that they need all the muscle they can muster. Meanwhile, in New York, Sarah Pizzini spots Youngblood and Shadowhawk duking it out with a bunch of bad guys. She jumps into the mix with Witchblade blazing. Back in Chicago, Super Patriot was wrestling with a fresh wave of villains when Dragon swoops in. They clean house, but then get the call to head over to the hospital. Mighty Man and Die Hard are deep in the thick of it there. Dragon and Super Patriot dive into the chaos, but then Spawn shows up out of nowhere. He takes down the villains like it's nothing, while the others focus on getting everyone out of the hospital safe and sound. Over in Hartford, Cyberforce is tangled up in their own scrap. Things do not look so good, at least not until Barricade, this new guy who also got his powers from Cyberdata, steps in and turns the tide. Cyberforce decides to keep Barricade around and hit up Youngblood for any intel on the craziness going down. Quick flashes take us through Seattle, Huntington, St. Louis, Orlando, Detroit, and Los Angeles. It's chaos everywhere, with the Darkness and other heroes trying to hold their own against a bunch of villains who seem to be winning. In Chicago, Spawn breaks down the whole situation to Die Hard and Dragon. He reveals that Al Simmons, aka the Omega Spawn, is the mastermind behind all this. Then Youngblood shows up to fetch Die Hard, who brings along Dragon and Spawn, hoping they can lend a hand and shed more light on things. Meanwhile, over at Youngblood HQ, Fortress is in a loop of despair, convinced it's all too late. Cut to New York, where the Youngblood team has just wrapped up their fight, and Shadowhawk's reassuring his dad that he's all good. Back at HQ, Shaft and his dad are waiting for the team's return, bracing for what's next. In New York, it's like a supervillain convention. A massive group of bad guys, all under Omega Spawn's command, are gearing up for a major showdown. Their target? The Statue of Liberty. They charge towards it, united in their mission to bring New York City to its knees, and that's where the third issue ends. What's up with the comic now? Image United number 4 and number 5 were on the docket for April and May 2010, and there was even talk of a filler issue, Image United Interlude, set for March 31st, 2010. This special issue was supposed to bring in other heroes from the Image universe, like Invincible, but it never hit the shelves. In December 2010, Kirkman went on video saying Image United is for sure gonna get finished. In 2011, Erik Larsen, who's kinda the man in the middle, an unofficial editor, said that Image United number 4 was about halfway done. He broke it down that some pages are totally ready to go, while others are waiting on just one more artist's touch. But then there are those few pages where it's a full-on jam session needed, and not everyone's turned up to the party. He also pointed out that McFarlane owned up to the 9-month lag between the second and third issues. But by 2014, Larsen was calling the project dead, admitting there's not much he can do to push it forward. Leap to early 2019, Rob Liefeld was still holding on to hope, keen to wrap up the Image United series, but eventually he throws in the towel too, confirming that the series is officially a no-go. Image United chronicled the journey of the company's iconic heroes as they amassed power, yet regrettably, the series remained unfinished. While certain elements extended into subsequent comic releases, merely a portion of the central narrative saw the light of day. Nevertheless, Image United stood as a brilliant concept with a captivating premise. Although incomplete, where do you think the comic should have headed?
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.